Hi, today I have a talk called Where is the Difference? So the first statement I have is everyone is as good as you are, and no one is as bad as you have imagined. So ego gives me all the tools in the form of thoughts to project outward and then to see and experience a world. So ego gives me both especially good, and then I see things in the world that seem especially good. And that's just as much of a trick as the thoughts ego gives me about especially bad, and then I project those thoughts out there and I see things that seem to be people and things that seem to be especially bad, and of course they are there to be in opposition to the especially good. So anything that's part of opposition, whether it's the good or the bad, is part of the trick of my ego projecting this world out there with all the drama it has. So everyone is as good as you are because all of us are goodness without opposite prior to the movie. So don't apply anything of time or space to this. Think of yourself just as a being joined with all other beings forever in beingness. We're goodness without opposite together. And if we can remember this, at the same time, we seem to, from our own insanity, we seem to be projecting a world of conflict out there. And no, our sanity is present and it's shared. And it's prior to and beyond the time and space that we're projecting. But when allowed, it will shine into and through our experience of time and space. When I get hung up picking out a specific thing from the world I'm projecting with fear and holding it up and calling it better or worse than some other seemingly separate thing, even though it's impossible for anything to be separate, I'm caught up in the projection of fear. No matter if what I've picked out as separate and I'm focusing on seems to be better or worse, I'm caught up in this projection of my own insanity, and I have to own that insanity and then go back into the mind we share, back into the sanity we share. And from here, from the sanity we share, extension is possible. So the extension of love, the extension of light, to and through what I have been making, this world I've been projecting, using thoughts of fear. Light can shine into and through it. From what? From what we all are together. Not from me alone. I can't be alone. I can't be separate. That's the impossibility. And this world is the pretending that there's a separate I, and it can be alone, and it can be separate, and it can be a victim, and it can be an aggressor, and it can die, it can be destroyed. That's what I'm pretending here, and it's all coming from my insanity. Why do I say my insanity? Because you have to go into your mind to get to the place where you share a mind with everybody. And when we've withdrawn into seemingly separate minds, that's insanity. But from there we project out more insanity. But if we go further down, down to the foundation of the mind we truly share, here's our sanity that we share. Here's our goodness without opposite that we share. And from here, in our shared place with everything and every being, where all is one, from here we can extend, not project. So you truly are all goodness without opposite. If I'm stirred up about anything that seems to be in this world I'm projecting with fear, I am not remembering the truth that we're all joined in goodness without opposite. Instead, I'm distracting myself in my mind with sensory data that indicates, and also memory, and also projections of a future, even though there is no past or future, there's just now eternally. I'm pretending this is so, pretending there's linear time. I'm pretending lots of things, and I'm getting distracted by all the lots of things that are backed up by all the sensory data and memories. And I'm thinking that's real. But what's real? Our shared goodness without opposite eternally is real. So if I make this my nest, this my foundation, this my reality, this my very self, capital S, shared self, and I return to this, and I do not allow the thoughts pretending that things are separate to send me into fear. I have to go prior to fear into the love we are. Then from here we extend. Here we're kind. Here we're gentle. Here in this place where we're all goodness without opposite. Let's see, you are producing your own memories. So if you think of something you believe you know, yesterday it was a hot day. Well, first of all, time doesn't exist. We made it up. We're projecting it. So anything involved with the yesterday, I made up. Everything's made up. And I made all of it up with fear thoughts. But when I know what I'm up to, I stop relying on memories. It seems that in this world, I have to function on memory. Like I remember how to drive a car. I remember about how to cut food up. I remember how to make this recipe. I remember my name. I remember my address. It seems all skills and functions are based on memory, and we highly prize memory. But what's taken over is, if you just go back a little further from the memory of the world, do you remember who you are? Do you remember that fear doesn't truly exist? Do you remember that we're all one in this moment? Do you remember that even though we see a movie playing out in front of us that looks very conflicted and it looks like it would give us reasons for fear and analysis, this world that seems to be playing out in front of us invites us to pick out one separate aspect of it and call it this or that, or say that there is real cause and effect within the world, and this thing within the world causes that thing within the world, and this should continue or that should stop. All of these thoughts about world causing world. Do we remember that we're prior to the world? Do we remember that we're the light that can extend into the kindness and gentleness and peace that can extend into our experience of this world? Do we remember that? When I feel any sort of tension or stress or distress, I'm producing my own memories and I'm believing in them, and I'm projecting from fear, from something that doesn't exist. Got quite an imagination. I'm believing all of that is real, more real than what's actually real, than love, than what's prior to and beyond all that. Prior to and beyond time and space. And I'm using time and space language to talk about it because that's all I have. I mean, I have what is prior to and beyond language too, because we're all connected in mind. I have that too. But if I'm going to use words, I have to use the instruments of time and space to encourage myself and everyone to remember, hey, remember when time and space didn't exist, when we knew it didn't exist and it couldn't. Remember that? Remember when there was nothing but profound sanity forever? Remember that? And then this blip seems to have come in that's chaos and conflict and limit. And the key is to say, I made it up. You're the one I, you're the capital S self. I made it up. I imagined an interruption to a loving eternity. And the more we settle into and find our safety not in any aspect of the world, but in this shared safety prior to and beyond anything that could be separate, if we learn how to rest here, then we're truly together. And truly together, we allow everything we would call frightening, everything we would call harmful, everything we would call evil to pass away. We don't pass away, we can't. We're eternal. We're perfectly safe. We're eternal. We cannot truly be touched by harm, but we have quite an imagination. I've had quite an imagination. So I've imagined all of these things. Okay, so think of the power of God extending from everyone and everything. All of us are this power together. So no matter what the ego would tell you to think of a person in this world, or an event in this world, or an object in this world, or a concept in this world, right behind any positive or negative evaluation ego would give you is just simply the power of God. And we all share the power to allow it to extend. That's our true power. Power within the world is a joke we're playing on ourselves. Our true power is to allow this power to extend through everyone and everything. We're not putting any evaluations or analysis on anyone or anything anymore. It reminds me of the power of Christ compels you, right? You decide what extends through everyone and everything you see and experience. You do, I do. But we're very, very accustomed to projecting fear on every single thing without exception. And it doesn't matter if I'm projecting fear in my best friend, so I find security in my best friend. I'm clinging to my best friend, right? That's fear. A positive experience is fear. And also, I'm projecting terror on what if I appear in the middle of a war and no one there is my best friend and I'm going to be in the middle of attack, and that's I think they're two totally different scenarios. I think I'm safe in one and unsafe in the other. When really safety, capital S safety, is what everyone is. Behind the surface of fear, I'm projecting on us all. And we still seem to be in time and space as long as we still seem to be in time and space. And what are we supposed to do? Well, we're here. We get guidance that shows us, that makes it very obvious to us. It's just, and it's a flow. We can just flow with it. And whenever we're not aware of that, we think we don't have guidance, we think something isn't flowing, that's our time to go in and recognize, I am not this separate entity, and that one over there is not this separate entity. We're together in the shared self. And I'm going to remind myself of that and calibrate to that and rest quietly in that and ask our shared self to make everything obvious to me today. What's the purpose of a day? To allow the benefit of the shared self to guide me through what I perceive as a day, and to share the benefit of the shared love we are with everyone and everything. And I'm not able to analyze what I should do. You know, this is what a loving person should do. It's more just like be open to the inspiration that can sort of pick me up and act me and speak me, and it's us. It's us together. That's inspiration. We can run on that. That's the power we are. And then it's not just a separate me making decisions in the self-interest of a separate one. It's a harmonic flow, because we've learned to remember the harmony we are and trust the harmony. Okay, you can ask this question of spirit. Where is the difference? So if you're looking at one particular concept, one particular person, and ego is finding difference, one particular event, ego is finding difference. But if you turn towards spirit and ask, where is the difference? Spirit's going to show you there is no difference. Spirit's going to point toward, hey, remember the light? that guy is the light just as much as you are. There's no peace without sameness, and you are the same. And any difference on the surface is not something to react defensively or cleverly to in order to keep a separate self safe or in a position of dominance or safely hidden. We're here to allow inspiration to guide us through every situation we've made, through every situation we've perceived. We perceive what we make. And inspiration guides us in very peaceful making. So it's like there's an art teacher flowing through you who will paint peaceful pictures through you. And at first, maybe the peace, you're only aware of that within, and the situation still looks like a conflict. But if we know we're unable to analyze the situation, we're unable to pick out separate elements of the situation and say different things about them, then all we have left is inspiration. All we have left is the flow that's going to carry us through what we're perceiving. All we have left is the awareness that we can ask to have our perception corrected. All we have left is the awareness that we're making what we perceive. And we're using our mind, our shared mind. When we're withdrawn into these cubicles, we call this separate minds. My mind's different from yours and can think differently from yours. We're projecting fear and everything. But when we sink down further into the safety of the mind we all share, and we ask for and allow inspiration to flow to us from there, and that's a whole different thing. That's how we learn how to make something to perceive, well, we're still going to perceive, that makes love obvious to everyone. So that's what we're here to do today. That's what I'm here to do today, to remember that our sameness is here, and to ask Spirit, where is the difference? When I'm seeing difference, then Spirit can show me this difference is hovering on the surface in the form of the fear that you're projecting. Now just relax down out of it, down here, down here, down here at our foundation. Or maybe Spirit's going to take you up, float you up above the perceived situation. Okay, here's where there's no difference. And you're making every single thing you perceive without exception. And you can rest here in our shared mind. And you can allow love to flow everywhere. Because love is the only thing that's real here. What we're perceiving isn't and can't be real. Perception isn't real and can't be real. But what we are is real eternally. So Spirit always helps us relax into that and rest here. So wishing you rest and happy healing today. Thank you.